unable to get back due to some health reasons and other elements to get to my Uncle Rod's funeral, which is this coming Monday. I'm not sure who's gonna see this or if they know him, but I want to share a couple thoughts. No, I don't want to. I'm sharing a couple thoughts about a man that had a great impact and a great influence on me. And there were times when we were closer and there were times when we were further apart. And there were things that we disagreed on and there were things that we agreed on too. I find it a strange thing how certain people will take this mode of turning someone into something that they weren't necessarily really once they pass away. And I love my Uncle Rod for who he is, who he isn't, for the times that we were close, for the distance and disagreements as well. And just because he's passed away, to me, it doesn't take away these other elements. And that's a part of who he was. And I guess beyond him, I hope people can be a little bit more honest and a little bit more true about the people inside of their lives. My Uncle Rod, for those that didn't know him, he was deaf. And it wasn't one of those enabled and, kind of, you need to do this and you need to do that. I remember one time I worked on learning some sign language and he grabbed my hands and said no. He was a very strong advocate about people learning how to read lips. And as he explained that to me, it was interesting. He said, sign language, and he knew it, but he goes, this can distance people. And in hearing him and his views and his beliefs, which were unpopular with some of the deaf community, talk about, hey, let's take that extra step to learn how to be in much more better engagement and better communication with others than expecting people to know how to sign. I like that. I remember sharing moments when I was a little child where he was just a little bit more real. My grandmother had dementia, and I remember sometimes sitting in her house with Uncle Rod and just how he shared where he was and what he felt. And it was just much more raw and real. And I think in that, I got to learn a little bit more about the man and how some people kind of cover up or act a certain way. Later on, when I got into music, he would come to some shows and it was cool. He would hold the speaker, oftentimes like a lower speaker or the bass speaker, and feel the vibration, literally, and still be engaged and still be connected. I remember asking him at times when there were the cochlear implants and whatnot, would you want to do this? And he didn't want to. He had lived his life in the way that he wanted to live his life, in the way that he wanted to interact, react, engage. And even when the opportunity was a possibility to hear, it was something he didn't want. He stood very opinionated on certain stuff, and one of those that would oftentimes shift opinions into facts with not quite the substantiation or, for that matter, the truth, but it was something that he believed and he felt strong about it. And we bumped heads on a few things regarding that, yet at the same time I respect a person that can stand there, and his reasoning, while I disagreed with it at times, was something that I could understand, and I understood why he got to where he was, and at the same time how he could hear another view even though he couldn't hear. It was fascinating, and it amazed me in a way, because I look at the friction of people and how they won't listen to each other, or what they'll perceive, or where they'll push an intention, and they have perfect hearing. And yet, here's a guy who's deaf that can hear better than many that could hear well. I miss him. The last time I saw him was a couple of years ago. We sat and talked a little bit. It was shortly after some just craziness and a crazy experience. And he understood parts of it. He didn't understand other parts of it. But we had that time together. And I saw with things that were going on with him health-wise that was the shift. And this was probably the last time I was going to see him. So I got that solid goodbye. And when I found out about his passing, it was sad, but it also made me feel like, okay, here's a guy that's at rest, at peace with the Lord. And in that goodbye at that time, it was filling. I love the man for who he was, what he stood for that we engaged on, where he stood with things that we were different on. And I have just a great deal of respect and love and strong memories. And so I leave it there. I love you, Uncle Rod. I'm glad, and I'm a better person, and dealing with certain things, I'm better for having you as my uncle and having you in my life, even for the rare and brief moments that we spent together.